Okay, this video is about Collin Griffith and Catherine Griffith. And before I even dug in too deep, I just started getting impressions and insights, the main one being that looking at the photos of these two together, Catherine and Collin, her son Collin, I see emotional enmeshment. Where you see emotional enmeshment, you see narcissists or borderlines, and I see it as narcissists with narcissists because neither of them seem like they're intuitive. They both seem like they're sensors. So to me, this looks like ESFJ, it looks like ESFJ covert narcissist Catherine, and then her son is just like a copy of her, ESFJ Collin Griffith, covert narcissist. And it's similar to Lori Vallow, ESFJ covert narcissist, and her son, ESFJ covert narcissist Colby Ryan. It's also similar to ESFJ covert narcissist Margaret Sumney and her son, ESFJ covert narcissist David Sumney. I especially think it's similar to David Sumney in the way that they're taking pictures together as if they're best friends and stuff, but then all of a sudden they're at each other's throats, literally with a knife. So that's what happens in these narcissist plus narcissist emotional enmeshment. They seem like best friends because they're like extensions of each other and stuff, and exactly alike, and very like-minded because he inherited his mother's ESFJ covert narcissist personality, but then they're at each other's throats. Like, you can't have two queens in a castle, I heard something that said that he was coming out as gay to his father or something, and that started part of the altercation that led to his father's death. And that just makes him look like a little victim, just like a covert narcissist would play. He's very good at playing the victim like a covert narcissist would play, and good at leading people to death, including his parents. So the way I see it is that Collin Griffith is a born and bred covert narcissist, and his parents were also narcissists. He inherited genetically the covert narcissist from his ESFJ covert narcissist mother. His father was also some kind of narcissist. I haven't got to analyze him enough, but so his mother, who's a covert narcissist, used Collin as a hitman against his father. So his mother's influence, and his own inborn ESFJ covert narcissism that he inherited from his mother made him naturally know how to set up an incident to kill his father and say, oh, it was an accident during an altercation about me coming out as being gay. Him coming out as being gay tells me he's gender dysphoric, which is most likely a feeler feminine personality type, Otherwise it would be like an intuitive empath type, but none of them strike me as intuitive. So I believe that he is a sensor feeler personality, and and him saying that he's gay shows that he feels like a girl, So I think he inherited his mother's feminine covert narcissist sensor feeler personality. And so ESFJ covert narcissists are constantly doing this, setting up deaths that look like accidents. Lori Vallow, sets up her ex to come pick up the kids or something, and her brother happens to be there, and there happens to be an altercation that happens to kill her ex-husband, ESFJs are always doing that. I've got another future video coming to you about this ESFJ Karen, from Florida, where she had an altercation with her neighbors. She didn't like the neighbor kids on her lawn, and then she, provokes the mother of the children by calling the children disparaging names or whatever. Then the mother comes over, trying to argue with her, and she shoots the mother, So and then she claims it was she was fearing for her life, the woman was going to kill her or something, And so these covert narcissist sensor feeler personalities, they constantly think that they can, set up these kind of situations and get away with it, and play the victim and everything. So I think he's definitely a feeler personality. It reminds me of David Sumney too, the way that they said that he kept talking about he's going to do this and kept threatening it. Like, people who aren't feeler dom personalities would keep that stuff to themselves. They wouldn't be telling the cops, like, if you take me back there, I'm going to kill her, blah, 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 They would, and he didn't even try to get away with it or anything, really, not with any real effort. It's like feeler dom thinking inferior. If your dominant cognitive function is feeler, then your inferior cognitive function is thinking. And so it's like, there's no logic here. It's just acting on the dominant feeler impulses, And like, David Sumney, if his mother got away from his abuse or whatever, he'd be like, I'll get you next time, And it reminds me of that, the way that he was saying he was gonna kill her, and yet they still put him back with her, and then he did it. So Collin is very good at playing the victim, and they're portraying his mother as a victim in court right now during his trial, but that's not the way that I see it. I see it as he was a narcissist child, a born and bred narcissist who inherited a predisposition to covert narcissism from his ESFJ mother. And then he was bred into narcissism too. His mother was the narcissistic abuser who was emotionally enmeshed with him, making him an extension of her, as narcissist parents do. And, his father was also competition, that she needed to eliminate, and she used her son that she was enmeshed with as an extension of herself to kill his father, to set up an accident for his father. And then they spend a year like going on all these happy family vacations and whatever, and taking all these emotional enmeshment photos like they're just the happiest mom and son, kind of Norma Bates and Norman Bates style. And then and it's those photos, the way they're so unfazed. It's like, if you're a good person or whatever and your family members die, whatever, you're not on a vacation the next minute, smiling, happy, and lighthearted, like on top of the world. That's some Lori Vallow shit, ESFJ covert narcissist Lori Vallow and ISFJ Chad Daybell. They kill people in their family and then they run off to Hawaii and look like the happiest people in the world, And so that's what it looks like in the mother-son photos. It looks like total emotional enmeshment of two narcissists, just like Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, just on top of the world. Not like, a tragedy happened within the last year, like that he killed his father or whatever, So yeah, you can see the narcissism in the way that they are totally unfazed, just like Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell after murders, and they just go live it up, and post it all over the place and take all these trophy photos about their happy life or whatever and how they're living up their happy life, and that's just weird considering, the death that they've been involved in. So it screams of, covert narcissism. A lot of these, just like our whole society is a cesspool of narcissists, it runs in families. And so this is a family, a whole family of narcissists. And the child narcissist out-narcissisted the parents and got rid of them. And so I see it as no loss. I see Catherine's death as no loss to the world. I see a narcissist child took out his two narcissist parents. It's just like if ESFJ covert narcissist Colby Ryan had killed ESFJ covert narcissist Lori Vallow and killed, one of her Chad Daybell, one of her husbands that was a narcissist, If Colby Ryan had killed Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, that wouldn't have been a loss to the world. That would have been, two less narcissists in the world taken out by one narcissist, Then they don't need empaths like Luigi Mangione to take out narcissists, because narcissists will just take themselves out, while we stand back out of the way. So I don't see it as a loss at all. I think Catherine was a clear covert narcissist who was happy that her son killed his father, because that made it easier for her to keep control of him and be emotionally enmeshed with him and keep him as an extension of her and stuff like that. And Collin learned from his mother how to do the covert narcissist thing. It was in his genes from her, and then it was in his upbringing, how to play the victim, how to act like, please take me into foster care because my mom's so mean. Yes, his mom probably was a bitch, narcissistically abusing him, but he was exactly like her, a gender dysphoric bitch narcissistically abusing her and everyone else around him and playing the victim, like the covert narcissist, the vulnerable feminine kind of narcissist, like poor me, like put me in foster care, but so also, if narcissist children like this don't kill their narcissist parents or otherwise get away from them, their parents could kill them at any point. If this was a case of Colby, ESFJ covert narcissist Colby Ryan killing ESFJ Lori Vallow and ISFJ Chad Daybell, who are also covert narcissists, it's not like it would have been that bad, because Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell very well could have killed ESFJ covert narcissist Colby Ryan, just like they killed his sister and brother, So these narcissist children that kill their narcissist parents, they could, a year from now, this very well could have been a story of Catherine, accidentally got rid of her son or whatever, and she's not talking about where her son went, like Lori Vallow, like just make her kid go up and missing or whatever, So with narcissists, it's always going to boil down to the same common denominator, they're going to try to out-narcissist each other, and that obviously leads to deadly conclusions in so many instances. And so it's like, it's no loss when these narcissists are taking each other out, it would be a loss if one of them wasn't a narcissist or whatever, taken out of this world by the personification of evil, the narcissist, but this was a narcissist child born and bred as a narcissist, genetically and environmentally, just taking out two narcissists just like Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. Two narcissists that could have taken him out at any point, and then we'd all be like, oh, what kind of horrible parents could kill their own child? Obviously narcissist parents do that, like Lori Vallow, kill their own children and make up bullshit stories about it, but so right now in court, the lawyer is trying to make it seem like Catherine's all wonderful, and blah, 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 a loving mother or whatever. But no, she was a narcissist, an evil covert narcissist who could have very well killed her children, just like Lori Vallow, and who was happy that her son had killed his father by quote unquote accident. And just didn't bargain for her son to try to set up an accident for her. But that's what was in his blood and in his upbringing, was to out narcissist all the narcissists around him. Another thing that makes this very similar to the David Sumney case is the affluence and the spoiling and the addiction to narcissistic supply. That's so obvious, if ESFJ Margaret Sumney was, spoiling her ESFJ narcissist son David Sumney materially, then they're posing in photos together at fancy dinners, holding hands, smiling, looking like, the perfect mother and son duo with lots of love, etc., But then as soon as Margaret Sumney decides to cut him off financially because he's doing something she doesn't like, then all of a sudden he kills her in a brutal fashion, and takes trophy pics to brag about it and everything else, And it's similar with Collin Griffith too. It's like he was exactly like his mom, the ESFJ covert narcissist, addicted to narcissistic supply. When you see the photos of them together, Catherine Griffith and Collin Griffith, on vacations together, and posing for photos to post on Instagram to get hits of the drug called narcissistic supply, then you see the similarities there. You know, as soon as I saw those mother-son enmeshment photos of them smiling on vacations after Collin killed his father, I immediately knew that this was the emotional enmeshment of two narcissists. You know, so Catherine Griffith gave birth to a son who's exactly like her, just like Margaret Sumney gave birth to a son who was exactly like her, an ESFJ covert narcissist. And then, you know, as long as they're spoiling their ESFJ covert narcissist son, you know, materially, and letting them get away with murder or whatever, you know, then they're thick as thieves and they're best of friends, and they're posing for these beautiful photos that, you know, and that everyone would envy. Like, oh, I wish I had such a beautiful relationship with my son, that I could post such beautiful photos on Instagram, you know, and brag about how smart he is and how well he does in school and how I just gave him a car, you know, and blah, 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 you know. And so in these narcissist mother-son enmeshment dynamics, you see that, like, they're spoiling them to control them, but then as soon as they try to not spoil them and do something punitive, then the kid out-narcissists them, you know. And so that's what happened in this case. Supposedly, you know, there was DV altercations in the past where Collin was charged with domestic violence, and I think one of those instances was she tried to take away his devices, tried to take away his video games, his phone, and stuff like that as like a punitive measure for bad behavior, you know, and then all of a sudden he kills her in this brutal fashion and tries to make it look like an accident, because that's what he was used to, was playing the victim and trying to make, you know, intentional deaths look accidental, just like an ESFJ covert narcissist would. If you see someone trying to make a death look accidental and play the victim about it, think ESFJ covert narcissist first, because it is a pattern there, you know. Their personality profile just seems to be the most boldest to go for it, you know, especially as FE doms. They're hot-headed. They don't think things through. They just kind of react, you know. Their SI helps them try to plan some things like a detective, because detectives are mostly all, or police are almost all SI users, so they think that they can pull shit off with that SI that they have that matches the cops, you know, that will help them think like the cops. But the fact that they're FE doms, feeler doms, thinking inferiors, makes them very hot-headed and impulsive and not really thinking anything out, just acting and reacting. And so this is what happens when covert narcissist momsters have kids just like them. It backfires on them, and their kids take them out. And I think it's no loss to the world at all. Losing ESFJ Catherine is just like losing ESFJ Lori Vallow. It would be absolutely no loss at all, because they're evil. They're personifications of evil as covert narcissists who would set up the deaths of others to make it look like an accident. So they just got a taste of their own medicine from their narcissist child. You know, I don't want to get too personal, but my mother was an ISFJ covert narcissist, and, you know, I'm going to repost a video about her later. And, you know, she thinks she got such a shit deal by having an empath child who's going to criticize her and call her evil and stuff, instead of just being like a good common narcissist child that would just blend in and go with the flow with her narcissism, you know, and not try to call it out or whatever. But, you know, this shows an example of what would happen if these common garden variety everyday covert narcissists actually have a child just like them that backfires their own you know, deceitful evil behavior on them, giving them a taste of their own medicine, giving them what they deserve, you know. And so this is just like David Sumney. David Sumney did that. He backfired his narcissism against his narcissist monster that he inherited the narcissism from, genetically and environmentally. And it could have very well happened with Colby Ryan too. You know, if Colby Ryan didn't move on to his own family or whatever and get that escape hatch from his mom by going to another family, you know, starting his own family. You know, if she had gotten too much in the way of that with her emotional enmeshment things or whatever, you know, ESFJ covert narcissist Colby Ryan could have very well killed ESFJ Lori Vallow or Chad Daybell, and that would have been no loss to the world. That would have been, you know, narcissists taking care of the problem of narcissists, so empaths don't have to, you know. So I don't think that we should be sad at all about the passing of ESFJ covert narcissist Catherine Griffith. It would be just as if ESFJ covert narcissist Lori Vallow had been killed by one of her children that was a narcissist just like her, like Colby Ryan. So I don't think that we should grieve that loss at all. We should see it as, you know, no loss at all, actually a win, that a narcissist child took his narcissist mother out of the world, you know, and I think that's good. And so in court right now, in the Collin Griffith case, you know, they're trying to paint the mother as, you know, this poor victim of her son or whatever, you know, and then paint the son as the poor victim of the mother or whatever, you know. But, and it's similar in the Margaret Sumney case, you know, like they didn't have enough evidence that Margaret was a covert narcissist of her own, you know, and that David Sumney was just out narcissisting his narcissist momster by killing her, you know, and that it's not really that big of a loss. But I think in this case, there's a lot more obvious evidence that Catherine is an ESFJ covert narcissist, just like ESFJ covert narcissist Lori Vallow. So we shouldn't be, you know, thinking, oh, that poor lady, you know, that got taken out by her evil son, you know. That's how they painted it in the David Sumney case. You know, this poor lady got taken out by her evil son. But in most cases like that, you know, and like using the example of Lori Vallow and Colby Ryan and stuff, you know, the ESFJ covert narcissist, that personality type runs in families, and then it's also modeled to children to just be narcissistic abusers and be junkies for the drug called narcissistic supply and pursue hits of narcissistic supply. And so I think it's very obvious that Catherine was a covert narcissist addicted to narcissistic supply and a narcissistic abuser. And I thought all of that from seeing the emotional enmeshment photos of them after their vacations, and then I went to Catherine's Instagram, and she had actually posted like a video of her ex-husband's grave after her son killed him. And the video was like a victory video. It was like, we're free from abuse, you know, like they triumphed over abuse and stuff. She's totally playing the covert narcissist victim, you know. And so that's just Collin, when he tries to say, oh, I'm scared of my mom, take me to foster care, you know. Narcissist children ask for foster care, you know, to manipulate their parents and stuff, you know, and play the system off their parents and stuff, you know, and he's learned to play the victim, you know, and, you know, ask for help from the authorities when he's set up a murder that he's acting like is an accident, or that he's a victim of an altercation or whatever. He learned that from ESFJ covert narcissists from his mother. And it's a very common thing that ESFJ covert narcissists do. So yeah, right now they're, you know, arguing poor Catherine got killed by her son, but no, you know, or poor him, you know, got abused by his mother. But they were both ESFJ covert narcissists playing the victim while they were plotting accidental deaths for people, you know, and controlling each other with emotional enmeshment tied to like material spoiling or withholding. And so, you know, that's what happens if a covert narcissist mother has a child just like her. She's gonna spoil it, you know, and make it an extension of herself, you know, and everything's gonna be good and gravy as long as that things are going like that, you know. But then as soon as, you know, they do something they don't like or whatever, and then they try to withhold, then all of a sudden that narcissist child is out narcissisting them, and that narcissistic abuse is backfiring on them, and they get a taste of their own medicine. So I don't think that we should be too heartbroken over any of this as a tragedy. Basically, this is just narcissists cleaning up the problem of narcissists, in the case of Collin Griffith and Catherine Griffith. Also, in this Instagram video where Catherine is like celebrating the death of her ex-husband by her son, by Collin, she's also quoting Taylor Swift lyrics. I've already made a video about how Taylor Swift is an ESFJ covert narcissist, okay? And Taylor Swift has actually done the whole world and empaths a favor by confessing it in her anti-hero song that she's a covert narcissist, okay? And here Catherine is, quoting Taylor Swift. Why would she quote Taylor Swift? Well, because her personality as an ESFJ covert narcissist matches Taylor Swift's absolutely perfectly. So they're very similar people because they're both ESFJ covert narcissists. Just like Lori Vallow, just like Gemma Teller, and lots of different covert narcissist monsters I've made videos about, Mother Gothel, etc. So I think this is important to point out the similarities and the associations there. So no one cries for the death of Catherine Griffith any more than they would cry for the death of Mother Gothel or Lori Vallow or Gemma Teller, who got what they deserve after all of their hitman manipulations, and covert narcissists play the victim manipulations that they do for their entire life. These people get away with murder for years, with nobody suspecting them, but it finally caught up to her and backfired on her. So,
or the pattern breaks us. As hard as this choice is, we break the pattern. Or the pattern breaks us.
At times is very close, and at times has its issues. You'll hear about these cruises that multiple family members took together, but you'll also hear about estrangements and fights. The common denominator in the estrangements and fights, Kathy Griffith. She is the person who is periodically, or for really long periods of time, estranged from any number of those people that I have mentioned. You heard that she lived separate from Collin for many years. That was after her divorce from Charles Griffith. With Susan, the other main player, who you'll hear from, it depended not on the year or the month, depended on the day and sometimes even the minute, whether Kathy was communicating with Susan or whether she was telling Susan she never wanted to hear from her again and that she was dead to Susan, or that Susan was dead to her. Griffith's blood, right?
Yes, correct. We take the samples, they're sent to a toxicology laboratory. It's a whole different world. They live in a different place, but they're the ones who do the testing. It's up to us to do the interpretation.
Right, and in this particular case, while you didn't find that the toxicology results contributed to Catherine Griffith's death, there were some drugs in her system that you were at least concerned enough to note in your report, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'd use the word concern. I'm kind of obligated to tell the truth, and if they're in the report, I've got to report that. I can't hide it. But there were 2 drugs present. That is correct.
Okay, what were the drugs?
One drug is called alprazolam. You might know it as Xanax, and the other drug is amphetamine.
Okay, tell the jury about alprazolam.
So I'm sure I'd be surprised if you haven't heard about Xanax. It's a drug which is given, is widely...
One call that was placed in this case that you asked to be excused from the courtroom, and is that your desire when it's played during the trial?
Yes, sir.
You understand you have the absolute right to be present for the entirety of these proceedings, including the presentation and publication of evidence before the jury. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Have you had an opportunity at some point in the past to listen to that recording?
No, Your Honor, but I don't have a desire to.
You understand you have the right to examine all of the evidence that's being presented against you.
Yes.
And you do not wish to do that. And you do not wish to be present when it's published if it's received in evidence during the trial.
Yes.
Have you discussed this with your lawyers thoroughly?
Not thoroughly, but I don't think they have any objection. If you have an objection to it, I will accept the return.
Judge, we have not discussed it, for hours or anything, but we have discussed it multiple times, and Collin has been consistent in his wish to not be present while it is played. I feel confident that he's making an informed decision.
If you have some questions for your lawyer or some additional concerns about whether or not you should be present when it's published, I'll give you that time right now.
Do you want to go into that and talk real quick?
All right. Did you let Mr. Hertel know just to hold them in the hallway for just a moment?
Or if it's...
Pink piece of paper that shows it? Call on in. Call Detective Lacey. Call them. So are you returning home or no? Look at the pictures. Okay, it doesn't matter. You were knowing with me, and you lied to me while we were here. you because I can see where you guys have been talking. So if he's not here by 10 o'clock, I'm sending the cops. Oh, it is. It is. We're all losing our jobs, and he's losing everything. That's why I signed the car over to myself. I need the money. So I'm taking the car. I'm taking everything. So I'm about to go up there and go and get the car because the car is mine. I have it in my name. The mobile notary came. I don't have to send you copies. I already sent you the title. I already sent you a picture of the title, and you already saw what it looked like. So I'm not going to sit here. Okay, then you need to go back through the pictures because you also said you don't have the pink picture that shows it. You also said that you don't show the call records and that you believe Collin, even though he's there at your house. So you're illegally the law. Tell him to leave your house and then he has to go back home. Is that correct? No. I'm asking you a specific question. Have you told him he needs to go back to this house? No. Did you tell him he needs to be back home to this house by 10 a.m.? And he needs to vacate your house if he does not have permission to be at your home? No.
That's what I told him.
Okay. Okay, and that's not what he did. He called me and he said, he completely blocked me, and he's completely removed himself from his Apple ID so that he cannot be tracked. So, right on that. No, his phone is off. His phone is off now. I told you that. I said if he didn't get in the car and come home, that was what was going to happen. And you said I will make sure he is there by 10 a.m. I told you I was going to if you didn't do this. No, that's not what I said. His phone is still on right now. His service is working. He's not going to answer. He's not going to answer. I showed you. Oh, stop. Will you listen to me? Do you see the call log? He did not try to call Monique at all yesterday. He is lying to you. I sent you his entire call log. That's from AT&T. That's not from his iCloud account. That's from AT&T. That's not what the court order said. It said he specifically has to leave a voicemail. But it doesn't matter because if he doesn't, that's fine. But I'm telling you right now, I have held everybody off. I said it's a private family matter. I'm sure he'll be back home. And everybody said, we'll give him 24 hours. That is until 10 o'clock today, Mom. That's why I said he had until 10 a.m. today. Mom, it doesn't matter. They gave me until 10 a.m. The police. I'm not speaking to you anymore. Either my son is in my driveway at 10 a.m. or we're not talking anymore. Okay, that's fine. You don't want to talk to me? That's fine. Goodbye. Work. It's on the fucking camera! have not consented. Do you hear me? Yes, Collin. Answer to me. Answer me. Do you understand that you do not have my consent to have Collin? Do you understand that? No, answer my question. Do you understand? No, I didn't. I never threw him out, and it's on the ring camera. Never threw him out. Never threw him out. Never threw him out. I didn't. You do not have my permission to have Collin in your home. Collin needs to be returned to me immediately. If when you arrive at your home, Collin is at your home, please inform him he needs immediately. If neither of those things happen, and I find out that he is still in your custody, I am standing in front of my ring camera having this conversation with you on speakerphone. I expect Collin to be here back at my house. And if he's not back by 10 a.m., I'm going to take it if you are holding him hostage and not giving him back to me. Thank you. I hope you have a great day. Goodbye. So I'll just go with you, and I can drive your car, or you can drive the other Jetta, and I'll just follow you. And I was like, okay. So his aunt lives there. I tried to go in, looked, it's not, his car isn't there. So I don't know where he parked it, where he put it. I don't know because I sent a text that said, hey, I'm selling your car. He decided to drive off with it. That was stupid because I'm signing this over to them, and they said that they'll just report it stolen. So if he's caught, it's guilty. So also, in order for him to have a driver's license, I have to give my consent. Okay, otherwise they have to wait until they're 18. The fact that his name is on the title is there. Come on, Cass. Come on, Cass. Hi, this is Catherine Griffith. I'm actually calling Griffith's mom. I was just calling to confirm, did Collin quit yesterday? Collin Griffith, yeah. When he called in, I know he didn't show up to work yesterday. Did he quit yesterday as well? I just need to know. Is there a way you can find out for me? This is his mom. Because he hasn't come home. So we're trying to find him. Yeah. Collin is missing and hasn't been home in almost 24 hours. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Also, do that when I come. This phone turned on. But you won't, and that's the problem. He's had it turned on do not disturb. He called me at 7:32 this morning and talked to me for 56 seconds and told me I was a crazy psychotic bitch and he wasn't leaving and that he was going to stay there with mama and that that's not a violation of his probation. I sent him a picture. Like, if he's sending you all these things, did he send you the pink picture that I sent to him that shows specifically, like, the pink sheet of paper they gave me that says he can leave the county to go visit his grandma? But it doesn't say he can leave the county to go visit his grandma. And that's what he thinks it means. And he thinks it means without my permission, he can just leave and go and do that. Oh, yeah, I sent him that too. No, it doesn't, because I specifically said, how are you going to live on your own? No, I even told Dr. Wilson, no, I'm not leaving when I start 18. You and I both know. Yes, I'm still leaving. This is all. I guess I don't, this is crazy. You tell me, just sit back and stay with your mom. You'll sit and eat. There you go. Piece of shit that drives me crazy, or we're done. So he wants to do this. He wants to go to court. That's what he wants. He wants this. That's what he wants. I didn't change my phone. No, I changed the voicemail to say that nobody could call me. That was all I did. No, Mom, you're a fucking moron. My phone was never disconnected because if you would have tried to send a text, it would have showed you that it would have gone through. I went onto YouTube, pressed play for the I went to the Golden House. We already showed he didn't show up to work yesterday, and it said, you want to know where he went? The movies. I'll show you the receipt. He went to the movie theater. And you know what he's been doing all day while he's at your house? Because it's showing up every time he takes a screenshot of it on his iPad account. He's playing video games, killing people. And I send those screenshots to you. So tell me how he's better off at your house where he's killing people. Pretend and making fun of it. And kidnapping them and having them tied to little chairs while he tortures them and kills them with other people in this little game scenario that he has. I sent you pictures of the screenshots where they're I'm telling you right now. in a car, the car is sold, he can either get in the car with me and come back home, or he can call me. Then you better tell him that he needs to give me a goddamn phone call in 10 minutes. Yes, 10 minutes. Because he's answering your calls, he's not answering mine. He's answering Lacey's, not answering mine. He has me blocked. Are you gonna call my son and tell him what I just told you? Call him and call me back.
Thank you for calling. State your name, number, and then play call, and I'll be back. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hi, Collin. This is your mom. I am just calling you because I know you talked to Detective Lacey. She told you that you needed to be home today, and apparently you said, no, you're not coming home. And so I guess you were explaining the situation, and that if you don't come home, you are going to be charged with violating your probation. So I'm just warning you, I am on my way to you to pick you up because you're not allowed to stay away from me like this. You're not allowed to be a mama's house, and I have every right to come and pick you up. So I'm coming to pick you up. Get in the car or not get in the car. Run away. Up to you. Oh, Collin.
Okay, yeah, all right, bye.
Your call is diverted to an automatic.
I threw him out and told him to come back when he got his shit together. Yes, I did. Okay, it doesn't matter. Check your text. Okay, because it never said that via text. So have fucking fun with it. I'm on my way. Oh, do you need a gate code or no? Do I need to wait for the police to get there? Okay, we'll see. We'll see. Here's something. It actually is less. Go ahead. He has work from 4:30 to 8 today. 4:30 to 8:30. So, yeah. He has 9 minutes to call and tell me that. I mean, I'm getting in the car right now. I mean, I'm peeing. Then I'm getting back in the car and I'm going to pick him up. And if once I'm in the car, he hasn't called me and told me anything. But that's not how it works, because he still has to go see Monique, and he sent Monique an email saying that he knows he violated his probation. And it's 2:53. It's less than 7 minutes. Goodbye. Come on, Cat's box. Come on. Come on, Cat's. Come on. Hello? Oh, he's not there. He hung up. He won't answer when I call, so good luck. Tell him to do this replay. Tell him to do this. I thought he was going to work. No. I don't throw him out all the time. That's a lie. So you plan on going to there and telling them that I throw him out all the time?
Person of interest, whatever they're calling him, in the killing of his father in Oklahoma, but that the fact that the alleged victim in that case was his father is not relevant to that. It doesn't matter who it is. It's the fact that he was a suspect, and that now his mother is is threatening to expose him as having confessed to it being a murder. So I will allow the state through those text messages to present evidence that the defendant, the alleged victim in this case, threatened to expose the defendant as confessing to murder, but will not allow the state, unless the door is opened, will not allow the state to identify Charles Griffith as the deceased, or to establish the nature of the relationship between Mr. Griffith and the deceased in Oklahoma, and also to present evidence that he has yet or has not been charged as of today.
I'm sorry, you will or will not allow evidence that he has not been charged as of today?
I anticipate that that's,
yeah.
I anticipate the state would do that to make sense out of the motive.
But if you watch this channel, you go, Richard's a peculiar one too. So, when it comes down to it, I didn't really find him that weird. I sat at the kitchen table and helped him with homework, which the teacher stole from the internet on Teachers Pay Teachers, which I'll tell you, I actually got an account and bought the answer sheet for $2 instead of actually working out the problems. Yes, capitalism, and Teachers Pay Teachers taking Apple Pay. But I spent some time with Collin at Disney, with Collin and his mom at Disney, spent some time with Collin and his mom at home, and I did get to spend some time with Collin and just myself and him, probably about an hour at Walmart when I charged my EV in Port Charlotte, Florida, and that's where the picture comes from. Collin said a lot of things about his conditions that he had back when he was staying with his dad, and I truly believe that conditioning conditioned him and turned him into, as Sheriff Grady calls it, I'm not calling him this, as Sheriff Grady calls it, turned him into a psychopath. Catherine Griffin did everything she could to make his life as normal as possible. I will tell you, one of the last texts I had from her, I actually had when I was on a cruise about a week and a half ago, and it was asking me to help him configure a computer, to help her configure a computer for him to become a programmer in college. How much RAM he needed, storage space, everything like that. That's what it was. It was a, can you help me configure a computer email? She had gotten so tied up trying to do everything to make his life better that it took mine and her relationship apart. Now, the timeline given by Sheriff Grady and given by these articles, most of the timelines are correct. Trust me, I have the text messages to back it up. Kid tried to stab me in the neck with a pencil today. Things like that. I mean, they happened. And I mean, her son. She gave her son so many chances. And, in the end of the day, it really came down to, this is like a serious statement, it came down to her son or me. And I kind of stepped back and stepped away to let her choose her son. It's a very, very, very hard thing to do, honestly, is to step back from someone you met, someone you were getting along with, someone you were in a somewhat long-distance relationship with. She met a lot of my friends. She met a lot of my adopted family. She never met my real family because they're a little crazy. You've never met them on this channel either because they're a little crazy. But adopted family, the people that have been on this channel, she's met 85 or 90% of them over time. Collin has met my best friend. Collin has met my best friend. Collin has met, there's people back there in the park. Collin has met my best friend. Collin has met at least two of my fake sets of parents. I like to say my parents are a little too vanilla. They don't drink. They don't gamble. They don't do anything like that. So what did I go do? Knowing me, I adopted a new set of parents. But they thought he was a little bit off. But I'm not going to lie. I'm a little bit off too. Here's the thing.
So I'm really curious if Collin was on any medications when he killed his mother and father, and so far I haven't seen anything about that. And yet, shockingly, and not so shockingly, amphetamine was found in Catherine's system after her death. I assume they didn't drug test Collin, but I definitely want to know if he was taking any ADHD medication like Adderall. So narcissists, both overt and covert, often are attracted to drugs like meth and cocaine and legal meth Adderall. These drugs make you feel numb and like vampires, like invincible, like nothing shakes you up, even if the sky is falling and it's the apocalypse. Narcissists already feel like the living dead that don't care, and they like drugs that align with that and enable it and exacerbate it. So we've seen other ESFJ parent, ESFJ child duos where death and Adderall was involved. ESFJ Margaret Sumney was killed brutally by her ESFJ son David Sumney while he was on Adderall, legal meth. Meth was designed to make people killers, and Adderall as legal meth turns people into killers too. Narcissists are already obsessed with death and bringing people to death. But then add meth or legal meth into the mix and it is exacerbated. It's narcissists in society that are okay with Adderall, legal meth being legal, since they love seeing people crash out into death scenarios like this. I've been in a real-life scenario with an ESFJ covert narcissist mother and an INTP son on Adderall, and he strangled me and sexually battered me. And I think Adderall played a big part in making him even more hyposensitive to violence than he already was hyposensitive due to autism. So whether she was on legal or illegal drugs and how those played into all of this, we have to remember as a covert narcissist, her primary drug is her addiction to narcissistic supply. And she's a junkie for that no matter if no other drugs are involved, just like ESFJ Lori Vallow and ISFJ Chad Daybell were junkies for the drug called narcissistic supply when no other drugs were involved. But narcissists with meth or cocaine is far worse propensity for evil and violence. So I think Collin is very dangerous, just like his mother, but she very well could have been the primary aggressor, or he could have set her up. Either way, they're both snakes. Beware of narcissists, but beware of narcissists even more if they're on meth or cocaine or Adderall. And then my response to Collin asking not to be in court when the 911 call is made. I think the part where Collin asks to not be in the courtroom during the 911 call and says he's never heard it is a part of his vulnerable covert narcissist act, like as if he's too sensitive emotionally to listen to that, like it would be too painful. And I think it's typical to the nitpicking of an ESFJ covert narcissist would do in court to be dramatic and emotional. Kind of like Lori Vallow insisting she be referred to as Mrs. Daybell through her trials, when really it makes no difference either way what she is called, just as it makes no difference either way whether Collin is present to hear that 911 call or not. I think with ESFJ David Sumney, he acts all remorseful now about what he did to his mother, and I think Collin might be singing that tune later too to get his freedom and sympathy, but for now Collin's response is more true to the ESFJ that really doesn't feel bad at all and actually feels righteous and justified in their evil. And then my response to Catherine acting like Norma Bates on the phone talking to her mother. These recordings where Catherine is recording herself on her Ring camera talking to her mother about Collin refusing to come home from his grandmother's house really show the mental conversations of an ESFJ covert narcissist. They're similar to the mental conversations you would see from like ESFJ Mother Gothel, ESFJ Gemma Teller, ESFJ Lori Vallow. C.S. Joseph, who is one of the kings of cognitive functions on YouTube, has a video about ESFJs, and it talks about how they will shower you with gifts, like buy you a car, but then use that car as a control mechanism, constantly threatening to take it away if you don't do everything they want. And sometimes they'll even go so far as to report the things they've given you, the gifts they've given you as stolen, like the vehicle. That's so realistic, and that is exactly what you're hearing in Catherine's phone conversation with her mother. 1 minute, Catherine and Collin are happy, getting narcissistic supply, posting on Instagram how she bought him a car, and the next she's on the phone making threats saying she canceled his phone, canceled his insurance, reported the car stolen, etc. I like one comment during the live trial streaming saying she was so afraid to live without him that she recorded all this on Ring camera, but she wasn't too afraid to live with him even knowing he could kill her. She said she would rather die than be without him. That's mimicking empaths, mimicking borderline's intense extreme emotions. Some people commented that she's borderline when she kicks him out and then reports him as a runaway. But this is just another case, just like Norma Bates, where overt borderline and covert narcissists get mixed up with each other, since covert narcissists mimic the emotional extremes of overt empaths, overt borderlines, when it's all bullshit. Her maternal sense isn't any more real than Lori Vallow's. So as an empath, I feel very invested in making the distinctions between overt borderlines and covert narcissists clear, since every time people see emotional enmeshment, they think borderline, when most of the time it's covert narcissists. Only intuitive empaths can be borderline. They are born with gifts and intuitive perceptivity that covert narcissists are not born with. So if a person is enmeshed with their child but is not an intuitive empath, then they are a covert narcissist. And then a response to the ISFJ boyfriend that ended it because she's enmeshed with her son. This boyfriend who dated Catherine after her divorce and spent time with her son Collin is an ISFJ covert narcissist, like ISFJ Jelly Roll, like ISFJ Chad Daybell. And he says the most creepy stuff. He says some things like, one, that he didn't really see anything weird about Collin. Yeah, because he's the common everyday kind of narcissist. So every 1 in 4 people is similar to him as far as cognitive function preference go. So most people see this as normalcy. Narcissism is the definition of normalcy in our current culture, where narcissists are the majority. Same as in the live stream comments, people comment like, Catherine's manipulation on the phone is just the normal exasperated mothers of unruly children. Then the boyfriend also said he has adopted family because his parents wouldn't let him do things like drink, so he got new parents. That doesn't sound a little too much like Collin deciding to get rid of his parents and ask foster care for new parents? So I haven't dug into Collin's father much, but looking at him, he seems ESFJ too so far. And this boyfriend is definitely ISFJ, so it seems like Catherine's attracted to ISFJ and ESFJ guys similar to her. But as you can hear this boyfriend describing, he backed out of this relationship because she has a Norman Bates type of enmeshment with her son, where her son was consuming her whole life and leaving nothing for a romantic partner. This is what it would look like if ESFJ covert narcissist Norma Bates from Psycho had a son that was ESFJ covert narcissist just like her, instead of having an INFP or INTP son who just acts like her sometimes. She can't stand her son being with anyone else, just like Norma Bates. Also, the ESFJ covert narcissist Norma Bates in Psycho stabs people with a knife. So take a minute and think of Collin in a wig as Norma Bates. And then the response to the request to keep the text out of evidence to the effect of implying that Catherine had just found out Collin admitted killing his father intentionally and was going to tell the police about it. So in response to asking to keep texts out of evidence because Catherine never had permission to see those texts seems a little bogus reasoning, and I wonder what it is about those texts that they don't want seen or what story they think the text will tell. But for right now, I think Catherine potentially threatening to turn him in for intentionally killing his father proves that she always knew it was intentional murder. Some people may have interest in making it seem like she was a dupe like everyone else who believed her son killed his father as a victim in self-defense and then just recently suddenly found out it was murder. But the truth is she always knew it was murder the whole time. She was taking Collin on vacations and posing on Instagram with enmeshment photos to get hits of the drug called Narcissistic Supply. The whole time she was gloating on Instagram about triumphing over domestic violence, posting a photo of Collin's father's grave. She was always happy Collin killed his father. But then when Collin wasn't doing what she wanted, then all of a sudden she wants to hold that over his head and use it as leverage, just like an ESFJ covert narcissist would use everything as leverage, like Lori Vallow and Gemma Teller and Mother Gothel. So I don't know what those texts say yet, but my hunch right now is they do nothing but prove Catherine knew it was murder the whole time. And she not only was happy about it, but she probably conspired with him and gave him the idea or encouragement to do something, on top of the fact that she gave him the ESFJ personality type genetically, where he comes to those conclusions naturally himself to get rid of people by playing victim of them acting in self-defense.
Did the defendant act when his mom did something as simple as take away his Xbox and his phone to try to instill some discipline action?
You stood up and said, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Yes, you did. I was there.
I was saying, no, I'm not a psychopath. I'm not this murderer.
I'll say it to you like this, if you want to know. Collin 1 is, I guess, he's who just wants to survive, help people, and do good things in the world. And Collin 2 is the one that protects Collin 1 in situations where he can't escape from. And Collin 2 is the one that killed someone. Because what's it going to come down to now?
That Kathy picked up the knife, threatened Collin with it, and he defended himself, as he's been saying he would do for a year. Isn't it also reasonable that Kathy knew what the outcome was going to be when she picked up a knife and threatened Collin with it? You've heard of suicide by cop? Isn't it reasonable to think that Kathy committed suicide by son? She had never been able to successfully commit suicide before, despite her many attempts.
Will the jury find as follows? As to the defendant in this case, the defendant, as to count one, the defendant is not guilty. As to count two, the defendant is not guilty. So say will, this 5th day of February, 2025.
Does the state wish to have the jury polled?
Oh, yeah.
You may be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for the considerable time and attention you have given this case. I also want to advise you of some very special.
Wow, this case has been a real doozy, to say the very least. My God, it's shocking. The world is shocked over this verdict of not guilty, as they should be. In this case, along with Lori Vallow's case, is one of the top cases, also David Sumney, to represent ESFJ covert narcissists and the mental conversations they have and the life scenarios they play out narcissisting each other. The best thing Florida did, in my opinion, is live stream the trial. All trials should be live streamed so that the playbook of patterns in covert narcissism is exposed and not so covert anymore. People wondering how can I type people and diagnose them without knowing them will see the patterns I make of examples for specific personality types and see that personality patterns triangulated by many different and non-related cases don't lie. So this is very alarming to know that an ESFJ covert narcissist child can get away with 2 murders they made to look like self-defense. This really goes to show how common ESFJ covert narcissists are, that other common SFJ covert narcissists that are likely on jury pool cannot really see anything bad about a child so similar to them, so resembling their own definition of normalcy. It's also very comforting knowing that by age 39, a covert narcissist like Lori Vallow got, a covert narcissist, Catherine Griffith, who is exactly like Lori Vallow, got what was coming to her, and someone out-narcissisted her. Sometimes it takes a narcissist or a narcissist wannabe to stop a narcissist and give them what they deserve for a lifetime of schemes. It's inevitable that Collin will get out-narcissisted in his life too, maybe out-narcissisted to death just like his mother. I think the prosecutors showing clips of Collin alluding to a multiple personality disorder was their way of making him look insane and unhinged, just like the defense was intent on making Catherine look insane and dangerous. From what I've seen of INTP that seemed to turn into ESFJ under stress and pressure, it wouldn't surprise me if he actually did have a multiple personality disorder. When you're in an enmeshed relationship with a narcissist, you become like them. So he was becoming his mother. And it wasn't too hard to become her since he has the same personality type as her, ESFJ. And he has little development of a separate self from her. And if he was becoming something other than ESFJ covert narcissist, then it would be an INTP covert borderline and covert narcissist wannabe, since every personality pushed to extremes becomes its opposite. And I don't like this theory. I don't say it because I like it. I say it because it's a true pattern. I would rather the lines between intuitives and sensors, neurodivergent and non-neurodivergent people be much more clear than it is with that theory that people become the reverse type personalities under stress. But I've seen this over and over and over and over, and that's why I say it. This case, no matter how hard it is for the average person to see, this case is very much related to Norman Bates style emotional enmeshment, where they become each other. A child coming of age to adulthood is a big trigger for crashing out for covert narcissists, momsters who codependently need their kids to stay dependent on them and need to manufacture scenarios that keep them dependent. Catherine was probably wishing for a conservatorship for him so adulthood wouldn't make her free from her, and even if not, she would be trying to maintain control in any way possible. I saw some talk about texts that she might have exposed Collin for were about wanting to kill her, not about killing his father, so she wanted to make her son look unstable and insane. She was always projecting her own insanity and badness on him his entire life as a covert narcissist herself, and he just so happened to inherit the same cognitive functions of preference as her, genetically, and ended up out-narcissisting her, taking her out with all the same tricks she would use. She should be proud, since she's not dead, she lives on through her psycho son. It's like he's Norma Bates, living on to continue the narcissist, death-loving mayhem, while she can't interfere anymore. The closing arguments for defense were kind of boring, but then a glimpse of pure genius came out when the attorney said suicide by son. Suicide by son? Let's say that again. Suicide by son? Yes, that's very pertinent and profound insight in a case like this with emotional enmeshment between two covert narcissists, where you can't tell where one ends and the other begins because they've become so similar. And usually if I talk about this kind of thing, which I have talked about this kind of thing, it's usually talking about male empaths who have mommy issues and end up griefing mothers to provoke some kind of suicide by mama bear with their mothers or with surrogates for their mothers. See the INFP Timothy Treadwell covert borderline video for more on that. And of course, in a case of emotional enmeshment with two covert narcissists, the opposite can also be a very true and realistic scenario. The suicide by son scenario in Norman Bates style emotional enmeshment dynamic between two covert narcissists can definitely end up in what looks like a suicide by mama bear scenario or a suicide by son scenario, where they just keep compulsively provoking and escalating things and making comments about suicide that eventually they manifest exactly what they've been focusing on: death and destruction for each other, dying with each other or dying by each other. Suicide by son makes Catherine feel like she died as a mama bear, being a mama bear to her son, even as he backfired his covert narcissism on her. They talked about Catherine threatening suicide often, and the Ring video shows she will escalate and provoke things incessantly, relentlessly, and that kind of griefing eventually makes someone take someone out. So it does seem like these moms and sons in emotional enmeshment have death wishes, which matches the covert narcissist obsession with death. I also want to reemphasize how ironic and poetic justice it is that covert narcissist ESFJ Catherine was recording herself intentionally on Ring camera to enforce her will on everyone, and it's most likely that Ring video that got him off free, because the video of her screaming at her mother with her covert narcissist, heavy SI mental conversations showed the jury she was an angry, unstable, violent woman who probably did provoke the attack. And the attempts to make him look equally unstable, as if he did this out of insanity rather than self-defense, did not outweigh them. So we'll never know why amphetamine was in Catherine's system. They totally downplayed that, and it probably did factor in a little more to make her seem unstable, but nobody ever answered if she had a prescription for that or where that came from. So that I want to draw attention to that one more time, because I feel that it was wrong to downplay and minimize that factor. I mean, it seems like everybody was trying to speed through this trial, so they wanted to glaze over a lot of things. So, oh well, if they glazed over that. But as far as I'm concerned, it needs to be emphasized when meth or Adderall, legal meth, is involved in these murder cases, these true crime murder cases, especially between parents and children. And so I really liked how in the ESFJ covert narcissist David Sumney case, they had a whole appeal based on the fact that Adderall and amphetamine, legal amphetamine, was a factor, But in this case, they just wanted to brush that under the rug, even though they had to mention it. So, to smear her or whatever. So I'm left with questions about that, but it doesn't surprise me at all. Narcissists are drawn to evil drugs like that, so.
This text I just sent, you win enough to pay for my college, ? Because I hit a nice jackpot on a cruise ship and I let Kathy know.
Yeah.
So he sent me a text unsolicited. The first text I ever had with the kid was, "Did you win enough to pay for my college?" And then he sent me a meme. The kid sent me a meme, and I can verify this because when they yelled out one of his phone numbers in court, which is no longer active, it's that number. I checked it. I was watching the trial the whole time.
So he has your number still. Possibly.
Me, when someone asks about your family, it's a Kermit the Frog meme. I'm happy to send it to you later. When someone asks about your family, should you tell them the Disney or Jerry Springer version? It's a meme.
Yeah, okay.
But that's what he sent me with Kermit in the background. That's I'm just trying to say those are the only direct texts I've ever had with the kid.
A jury's decision to acquit Port Charlotte teenager Collin Griffith,
the defendant, is not guilty,
has left some of his family stunned.
I really don't know how he ended up not guilty.
Inaki Markovich is married to Susan, Collin Griffith's grandmother. He says this teenager is dangerous.
No, it's completely two people. One is a nice kid and the other one is a killer.
He was been.
We're getting some new video in of Collin Griffith walking out of the jail after being processed and released. Let's take a look Let's see who's there with him. Nobody. Wow.
He's alone?
That's kind of interesting.
Tells you a lot, doesn't it?
It sure does.
I wouldn't want him.
Where does he go?
Anywhere but near me.
He needs to be hospitalized and treated because he clearly, in my opinion, has been broken by life.
He's got complex PTSD.
Yeah.
He's definitely got some dysfunction.
I just want to check the control room. Like, there's no one there?
I was just listening to an interview from the ISFJ covert narcissist boyfriend of Catherine's, and he was talking about some texts he got from Collin that were completely like unsolicited and just sent out of the blue on his own accord. And one of them was like, do you have enough money to put me through college? And he said that he would make jokes like, you're my future ex-stepdad or whatever like that. And then another text was like sending him a meme of like Kermit the Frog, and it's like, someone asks you about your family, do you give them the Disney version or the Jerry Springer version? So wow, that's Collin's sense of humor to his mom's boyfriend when he's enmeshed with her like Norma and Norman Bates. I can see why they kept this trial so short and rushed through. Like, I can't imagine the goldmine of insights that I could examine if more of Collin's and Catherine's texts came out. God. So I inserted clips of Collin's grandfather saying in his own words too. Not sure if he's just copying what Collin is saying or what, but the grandfather says there are two Collins. One is nice and one's a killer. So again, I think with INTP/ESFJ types, INTPs that turn into ESFJs under pressure and ESFJs that turn into INTP under pressure, there's a very real possibility of a true multiple personality disorder, true dissociative identity disorder, especially if subjected to lifelong narcissistic abuse from the covert narcissist mother, who always passed off her abuse as love and caring so much. So I'm not sure if Collin is making up multiple personality to make himself look confused and more innocent or what, or if that's real, but I hold open the possibility that it is real. And I'm inserting a screenshot where it shows how personalities get stuck in the grip of their inferior function under stress and pressure. So that is why an INTP might act like an ESFJ under stress, or an ESFJ might act like an INTP under stress. So watching Collin Griffith get released from jail is like watching Norman Bates get set free. The way Collin walks is so awkward and gangly, even just like Norman. So to draw more comparisons between this case and Norma and Norman Bates' story, we have to view Collin as a gender dysphoric and feminine like Norman Bates. And this gender dysphoria makes him identify and align more with the feminine view on things more than the masculine view of things, just like his mother. So Collin was acting just like his mother a lot of the time, with his covert narcissist play the victim acts and flying into rages trying to stab people. This gender dysphoria makes him a female brain in a male body. So imagine Collin as a woman dressed up in mommy's clothes in a wig, just like Norman Bates. Collin is an effeminate boy as an ESFJ feeler personality, just like Norman Bates was an effeminate boy as an INFP feeler personality. Even though ESFJ is not intuitive and empathic like Norman was, he's still a feminine, gender dysphoric, effeminate personality. So we think we're watching a male get let loose, but to understand his motivations better, you need to think of him as a woman masquerading in a male body. So these effeminate sons like Collin and Norman Bates, they get enmeshed with their mothers, and that doesn't mean feeling romantic or sexual about them in an incestuous way, so much as it means they become their mothers, like an alternate version of their mothers walking outside separate from her. Emotional enmeshment means becoming the other person, like the child becoming the parent. It doesn't mean having clingy sexual attraction or affection between parents and children. So imagine that Collin is just like a Catherine Griffith, walking in a male body now, set loose on the world. Imagine Collin is like a Norman Bates, true ESFJ covert narcissist, psycho, just like from the original Psycho books, let loose on the world. Catherine and Collin is a Norma Bates case, where an ESFJ covert narcissist momster like Norma Bates has a child just exactly like her, an ESFJ covert narcissist, rather than an INFP intuitive empath son. The results end up similar because they're all feminine personalities, and you can't have two queens in a castle without them rivaling each other. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about Kathleen Bates in the future.